I just wanted to do a quick video today that demonstrates how to do a haircut. If you can't get into the salon for whatever reason, or you want to start cutting hair because you have a house full of boys, I'll give you just some very basic instructions and ideas on what to do. So this is my son Ryan. He is ready for a haircut, and he has finer hair and not a ton of it, so I know that I'm not going to go super short, and he has requested to keep the top a little bit longer, and so we're going to shorten the sides and blend what length is on top for us to keep that length. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to have a set of clippers. I have big clippers and little clippers. This is a wall clipper, and I've had it for quite a while, and I clean it and oil it often. I clean it every time I use it, and I oil it about at the end of every week. And then these are called little peanut clippers, and I also clean these every time I use them and oil them at the same time. So it's worth your investment to have a good set of clippers because it will have a smoother cut that's not going to pull, and it won't be miserable for you and whoever's hair you're cutting. So the next thing I have is my clipper guard, and so I'm going to start with a number 3, knowing that I want his hair to be a little bit longer on the side and I don't want it super short. I like to start with the biggest clipper guard that I think I'm going to end up using, because I can always take more off but obviously can't put it back on. So I'm going to grab my comb and I'm going to turn him around so you can see a little bit better. He's been wearing a hat today, and so he's got a ridge right there. So you'll also want to have a water bottle near so you can spray any kinks or anything like that out. All right, you ready? What? Okay, I'm sorry. So you also have the ability to move this clipper guard up to make a half step. So this is going to be a 3, and then using that lever on the side is a 3.5. So we're going to start with a 3, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross cut and just roll it out away from his head right at this curve. So cutting all the way around. I don't want to go up too high because he's got a cowlick in the crown. I want to leave a little bit longer. And again, rolling away and cross cutting. And I like to use the comb to catch the hair where I want it to be. And sometimes I'll even hold the hair down and cut it like that. And see what I mean with not going too short? If I had gone any shorter here, you would really see his scalp, and we don't want that. And that depends on everybody's texture is going to be a little bit different. I've been cutting his hair for 15 years, so I just know that I don't want it any shorter than a 3. And I'm going to take this, a 2.5, and I'm going to clean up the edges around. But for right here at the curve of his head, I am going to use a 3. And I'm going to continue to cross cut, and when you dry cut, it's a little bit easier to get it to come and to have that clipper guard catch that dry hair. And then when you cross cut, you won't see the lines as much. So I'm just going to clean up around the top. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this number 3 off. I'm going to put a number 2, and I'm going to make it a 2.5 by pushing that up. So I'm going to clean up this edge right here. And come up from underneath and roll it out right here where I stopped the number 3. And again, cross-checking and cross-cutting. And it's not going to be that much of a difference from one length to the other, but it's just going to be enough to give it a soft tapering. And we always like it cleaner and a little bit shorter on the edges. So now I'm getting a really nice blend between the two. And you wouldn't think that it would be that much of a difference in length, but it can be, especially for hair that's a little bit finer. And right here in front, none of the men or boys that I cut like their hair to be long right here. So if you can get this part right here to be nice and clean and short, I feel like if they can grab it and pinch it, it's too long. So I'm going to clean up around this ear. And then next, we've got this line right here that we're gonna blend away, but I wanna finish up with all of the clipper cutting. And so I take my little peanut and I'm gonna trim his sideburns and up and around his ear. And these ears, they move and they can get out of your way, so don't be afraid to move the ears where you need them to go. And then I like to get around the edges by using my comb and the clippers and clean up that neckline and create that hard edge. And then using my comb to kind of just clean up all those edges. And some people like a square neckline, and some people like it more of a corner right here. And it's also important to pay attention to their hairline and how their hair grows, because you could lift up the hair right here and it could be really long. Even cross-checking it, you can end up with a little bit of too much hair. And then I like to take the comb and then blend these two. Remember we had this line right here from the 2.5 to the 3. So I like to take this comb and hold it at the edge and just run my little peanut clippers over it. And then clean up this sideburn. And then get that ear out of the way. And clean up the edges. And at this point, I'm pretty done with the clippers, so I'm gonna blow off all the hair. And that helps him to not be quite so itchy throughout the rest of the haircut. Now he's got quite a bit of length off the top and he wants to keep it, so I'm gonna take as little as I can off, but still blend these sides. So I'm gonna get them wet, because you can work and manipulate the hair a lot more when it's wet. So now I just have a standard 7-inch comb, and I'm going to, right above the corner right here, I'm gonna comb down about 1.5 inches of hair and just see how it blends with everything. And I like to do a cut scissor over comb and lift it off of the head. You turn it around, you can see a little bit closer. And so you can see this edge right here underneath that I've already cut, but when I lift it up, you can see how much of the length needs to come off. So this is starting to blend really nice. Now you can do this with someone who can sit still. It's kind of a little bit harder with more wiggly people that talk with their heads, or even toddlers. I try not to cut a lot of toddlers' hair since I don't have a house full of toddlers anymore, and I really have no interest in cutting them. So, right here is where we stopped the clippers, and now I'm just gonna take the comb and run the comb up and cut as I go. so I can blend this crown without getting it too short. We don't want the cowlick to take over and be a problem as he combs it these next few weeks. And he gets a haircut about every 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how often he schedules. And I have them schedule their own haircuts. Ideally, he would schedule the haircut as he leaves the salon, but that doesn't always happen either. So still blending these sides. And the scissor over comb takes a little bit of practice. And if you're not comfortable doing that, then you can use your fingers and then you can see where that needs to be cut. So we'll do a little bit of both. And then you really want to just see all of these lines blend away. And he's been wearing a hat for 6 months and intends to keep wearing a hat. So this is going to be covered up anyways, but we want to get it nice and blended. All right, you don't want any length off the front? Maybe just a little? So now I'm just trimming up his bangs and blending them with the sides that we've already cut. And just be aware of these sides right here so they're nice and short and blended. All right, so now I've got the sides blended as well as I can with the edges that we've already clipper cut. So now what I'm gonna do is just bring that top in together. Look up, bud. By combing it kind of straight up just to see how much do I want to take off of the top right here. So we're just gonna take the edges and I'm gonna comb it straight up and just snip. And I want to do it in rows that go from side to side in about 1 inch sections. And what that does is that creates a guide that you can see once you've cut underneath and just move to the back in sections from ear to ear. Now coming back here to the cowlick, I want to change my sectioning and go all the way around vertically and get away from, we did horizontal up here, and from behind the ears and back we want to switch over and go vertical. Again, making sure that that cowlick in the back doesn't get too short, but that everything blends really well. And you'll see a little bit of a corner coming around the edge because this is short and this is short, but you'll want to just snip off that corner in the middle, and that will take the heaviness away on the edges. And a good way to cross-check that is to now come stand on the side and start in the middle and just trim off the ends. And if you have anything crazy or if you've really changed the length, here is where you will see if your length is different. So cross-checking it, because we didn't take off very much hair, is I'm gonna see little mountains, little hills, and I'm just gonna trim those off so I know that it's all one length. And I'm gonna come to the other side. Sometimes when you're standing on the same side of the head, it's harder to kind of see those peaks and valleys. So if you stand on this side, I know, you're always itchy. If you stand on the opposite side of the hair, you kind of have a better bird's eye view of what needs to be cross-checked. So I'm just going to finish up, now that I've trimmed the top, I am going to just go around the edges and do a little bit more scissor over comb. And then if you've got somebody with really thick hair, now would be a good time. If you're feeling brave and if you feel like this is a good idea, you can get your thinning shears. And your thinning shears are fun because they have teeth on this side and the blade on this side. So they're only cutting the hairs that get inside the little teeny tiny teeth. All the hairs that go inside these longer pieces don't get cut. So if you're having a hard time getting it to blend on the sides, one thing that you can do is to get these thinning shears, and it looks scarier than it is, but you're gonna slide that and chomp, and you're gonna see just little hairs come out. And it's gonna blend the sides really well for you and make that transition from short to long a lot easier. And you can kind of go all the way around the edge into that transition, and you just have little hairs that come out, and it's gonna blend really, really well. And that is your basic haircut for short on the sides and not too long on the top. And I'll take some close-up pictures and post them with this video so you can kind of see the up close.